That's a very real question. I went through that myself. When I went through my spiritual awakening in my early 20s, and before that, I was raised Catholic. I was a devout Catholic, going to mass every morning before church. I got confirmed, everything. And as I grew older and I began to expand my consciousness, explore my consciousness, I started aligning more with the pagan earth religions and the idea of the divine feminine. And I will say, during those early 20s, I was scared. I was like, well, what if I'm wrong? What if that is the right way? What if that mean God that is fire and brimstone is going to judge me? So the question of, is God going to judge us, is a very fair question. My answer is, on the outer level, looking at it objectively, that God, for me, this question is coming from an Abrahamic tradition, through the Abrahamic propaganda that God will judge you at the end of time, at the end of your life, etc., etc., etc. And while I do find that to be very self-defeating, the idea of this God judging us is self-defeating. Well, I will say there is no greater judge than our own higher selves and our own consciousness. So let's approach this question a little bit differently. When we're saying, is God going to judge us? A lot of us are coming from Western programming. A lot of us are coming from going to Sunday school, going to church, etc., etc., etc. We have this concept of sin. And, is God going to judge us at the end of time for the sins that we've committed? You can tell I've just rolled my eyes, right? Sin, in the way that it's perpetuated in today's media, religions, and, propaganda, is not really what I feel the definition of sin ought to be. For me, God, quote unquote, using air quotes, God is our higher self. Our higher self is connected to Source, right? So when we're in alignment with our higher self, we are connected to the infinite divine. We are connected to Source, God, Goddess, whatever it is you want to call it. And it's when we go against what our higher self is telling us, when we go against what that Source consciousness through us, moving through us, is guiding us to do. In other words, when you do something, but yet you know better and you do it anyway, that to me is the definition of sin. So is God going to judge us? I say I feel it's very fair to say that God within will judge us. And what I mean by that, again, coming from the place of the higher self, connected to Source consciousness, when we aren't listening to our higher self, we're going to create imbalance in our world. It's fair to say that when we are in alignment with our higher self, and we are motivated through our intuition, through our psychicism, through our connection with higher Source consciousness or higher self consciousness, when we act from there, we are being guided. It's an unfolding path. It's unfolding. But when we don't listen to that, when we don't listen to our intuition, when we go against that which we know better, the path begins to close down. So it's no longer unfolding, it's infolding, and begins to create obstacle. So that is how I feel God judges. Well, to answer the question, that's how I feel God judges, but it's not in the way that the question is termed, is said, written. God is you. God is your higher self. God is your intuition. So it is your intuition, it's your higher self that judges you and begins to acknowledge there is an imbalance of energy flowing, and therefore you're going to come up through many self-imposed obstacles. And in that, let me say that I don't think that's wrong. I don't. I am one of those people. I used to kid around in my 30s. I used to say, I always shoot myself in the foot. I knew better, but I did it anyway. But it was for me to grow from those experiences. So these experiences that are obstacles, these experiences where the higher self energy and intuition is being cut off, it kind of teaches us a lesson. And if anything, it taught me how important it is for me to allow that source wisdom, that higher self behavior, relationship to grow and to be inspired from my higher self. So sometimes that quote unquote God is judging me, or it's you judging yourself, creating obstacles for you to grow from. So, is it a bad thing? It's uncomfortable. Is it a good thing? You learn from it. So, what can we say from that?